Hi guys, today we're reading The Taxi, and we're also going to talk about the Five Senses poem. Couple things first. If you haven't started on your poetry book yet, get rolling. If you still don't have one and you want one, you can still pick one up at the lunch pickup Monday, Wednesday from 11 to 1 at the high school gym lobby. You might pull up and it looks like no one's there, but they're in there inside the gym lobby. And then if you want me to bring one to your house and drop it off and put it in your mailbox, a no contact delivery, let me know, because I'll do that. All right. So first we're going to read The Taxi, and then we're going to talk about, actually let's talk about Five Senses poem first, and then we'll read The Taxi. Okay. So if you're looking at your slideshow, it's just like mine. So Five Senses poem, as you can imagine, it's a poem where you use your five senses. I think you could do it in these 3 steps. So if you choose an activity that you like to do, if you choose something kind of physical, it will make it easier to do the poem. So maybe a sport or some kind of physical thing that you like to do. And then 2, I would make a list of everything that all 5 of your senses experience while you do the activity. And if you need a reminder, here's this creepy drawing of the 5 senses. So if I'm doing like soccer, I go through and I make a list of what do I see while I play soccer? What do I hear? What do I taste? What do I smell? What do I feel? So make a list, kind of like a brainstorming list. And then step 3, you kind of make it into a poem. So you could describe like everything that you see, hear, taste, feel, whatever, and just like make it into a poem. And like we've talked about, if you're struggling with like how to make it into a poem, write it out. Just like write it like a story or a description, and then physically arrange your words into what looks like a poem, because that works. It's not cheating, it works. Okay, so there's that, and then use this thing if you need it. I do have an example on here of one that I actually wrote about running, and you can read it on your slideshow if you so desire. So next we're going to read our poem. So The Fuzzy Blurry Taxi. It's by Amy Lowell. She's a modern American poet. Let's think of it as an example of a 5 senses poem. So as we read it, let's figure out what her 5 senses are experiencing. And she may not hit all 5 senses, but she might. Okay, so just like always, let's read it once and then we'll read it again a little bit more closely. So think of the title, because that's going to help you with understanding the poem. So I think of the narrator as Amy Lowell. Just think of it as a woman, maybe in a taxi. All right, she says, "When I go away from you, the world beats dead like a slackened drum. I call out for you against the jutted stars and shout into the ridges of the wind. Streets coming fast, one after the other, wedge you away from me, and the lamps of the city prick my eyes so that I can no longer see your face. Why should I leave you to wound myself upon the sharp edges of the night?" So, if you're like me and you're a poetry dummy, maybe you got nothing from that. But if you are not a poetry dummy, you might be like, dang, that's some dark stuff, which it kind of is. Okay, so let's go through it again. Imagine she's in a taxi, okay? And then she's going away from someone. And as I read it, I think of it as like her boyfriend or husband or something like that. Like maybe they've had a fight and she's going away from him, right? So like, when I go away from you, the world beats dead like a slackened drum. Like on a drum, there's a little knob you can turn on it and it like changes the sound, and it sounds bad if you turn it. So she's like, when I'm away from you, the world's not the same. And then imagine her in the taxi. She goes, "I call out for you against the jutted stars." Like she's calling out his name. And then we know it's nighttime, right? From stars. "And shout into the ridges of the wind," right? So the window's down. She's like shouting his name out the window. "Streets coming fast, one after the other, wedge you away from me." Right? So every street that she goes past is like further and further away from him. "And the lamps of the city prick my eyes so that I can no longer see your face." I think of that as like her vision's blurry. Like, you know, if you're like crying, say, and there's like tears in your eyes and you look at a light, it'd be like blurry. And then in the last part, she goes, why should I leave you to wound myself upon the sharp edges of the night? So you got to get a little creative there. Like, what could be sharp edges of the night? So what are some things she could go do at night that would like hurt herself in some way? So maybe, you know, they had a fight or they're breaking up or whatever else. So to go wound herself with the sharp edges of the night, you know, maybe she's gonna go like drink alcohol or do drugs or physically harm herself or like hook up with some other dude or something. So that's the way I read it. I certainly don't have to be right. Like, I could be wrong, but that's what I get from it. Thinking a little bit about five senses. She's not super specific in terms of like, you know, my eyes saw this and I heard this, but she covers it, I think. Like the wind, right, would be what she feels. She talks about no longer see your face, so she doesn't see his face anymore. She doesn't mention anything that she tastes. She hears, I guess when the world beats dead like a slackened drum could be hearing. And then the touch, we already did that. Wind. What's the other one? I don't know, you figure it out. Okay, so that's what I got. Tips for your five senses poem. If I were doing it, I would make it into 5 stanzas, right? 5 senses, 5 stanzas. Stanzas are like paragraphs in poetry. If you're like, I just want to get it done, do it in 5 lines, right? Describe mowing your yard in 5 lines. And you can literally be like, I see green grass. I hear the mower. I taste dirt in my mouth, or whatever, okay? So it could be that easy if you wanted to. And again, just like all of our other poems, except for haiku, which we haven't done yet, this is a free verse poem. So when you write your 5 senses poem, you make the choices in terms of how long it is, does it rhyme, punctuation, capitalization, do whatever you want, because it's yours. All right, so today, if you're watching this on the Friday the 24th, we do have a turn-in assignment today. And all you have to do is like turn in something to me. It doesn't matter what it is. You're just showing me that you've done something on poetry. So you can take a picture of your poetry book and send it to me. You can send me a doc with some poems. You can take a picture of yourself drawing in your poetry book. You can upload something on Canvas in the assignment spot. So somehow communicate with me. Show me something that you've done on poetry this week. All right, peace out.